if you've never gotten an award, you don't know what's going on. And so he did his thank yous, and then they played him off using the theme to Jaws and cut his microphone. That was like throwing a lit match in a gas factory.
Yep.
Everybody went berserk, and they wanted the VES to do something, and it wasn't anything we could do as a professional honorary association. We tried to explain that. We got nailed to the cross, it set on fire. I got death threats.
Welcome to another CG garage where the monstrous moon shines. We're building new Hollywood like in 1971's prime. From Arthur's bold dreams to AI's fever dream, where tech meets the silver or LED screen. Pixels and passion are pipelines unknown to host one show on a deadline postponed.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the CG Garage. This is episode number 533, featuring Mr. Jeff Okun, who is a legend in the visual effects industry and has been around for a long time. He's worked on some incredible films such as The Last Starfighter, Cutthroat Island, Deep Blue Sea, and a bunch more. He actually trained under Saul Bass, which is an amazing story, but his story goes way further back than that. His father was actually a dentist to the stars, and we talk a little bit about that, which is kind of amazing. Him bouncing on the knee of Mr. John Wayne is a great story in itself. But yeah, he's a really great guy. But he's mostly known for the work he's done in the Visual Effects Society, which his name is almost synonymous with the VES. And really very great to have him on. He was actually a chair for the VES for over 6 years. And I got to talked to him about that, as well as obviously the very controversial times that was happening in the VES, or the time, the kerfuffle, as he calls it, during the Life of Pi times. And he finally gave me his side of the story, or the VES side of the story, that was very important to be said. Obviously, we've talked about that many times on the podcast, and it was really great to hear from him, as well as some information that I didn't know about, or most people I don't think knew about. And it's great to finally put it out on a podcast specifically about the time that they spent with unions trying to actually come up with a solution. So really great to have Jeff on, and I really appreciate the work he's done. You should also definitely check out his book that he's written on the VES Handbook, and there's a link in the show notes for that. As of this recording, a couple of things I want to announce. First is that the Oscar nominations are out as of today when we're recording this, so I can be so excited. Some amazing films are being out there. Some of my favorite films in many, many years have been nominated, including Sinners. I'm specifically calling out Sinners because two people who have been on the guest back in 2025, Mr. Michael Gralla and Mrs. Autumn Durald Arkbaugh, were on the podcast itself, and they've both been nominated for Oscars. So Michael for the visual effects Oscar, and Autumn for her work as cinematographer on Sinners. So I am very, very excited, and congratulations to all the nominees, but especially Michael and Autumn, who are really great, great people. So thank you so much. Okay, other announcements. The Production Summit is happening as of this podcast coming out. It is happening on Tuesday. There's going to be an event on Tuesday, sort of a mixer, and then Wednesday and Thursday are the 2 days. If you're in LA and you'd like to come to the event, just go to productionsummitla.com. Go ahead and register and use the checkout code CHAOSGUEST for a 100% discount on the ticket. You might still need to put a credit card in, but it'll be zero charge on your credit card. Just go ahead and do that. We'd love to see you at this event. I will be speaking on both days, so please come and see us. I will also be at the HPA retreat on February 15th through the 19th in Palm Springs. And if you guys are going to happen to be at the HPA, I would love to see you guys there. In terms of the podcast, you guys know where to follow us. We're at cggarage.com. We also have our YouTube that's active now. We'd love to see you on our YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/@cggaragepodcast at CG Garage Podcast, and go ahead and like and subscribe to us there, and you can watch these all on YouTube if you'd like. You also have a great Discord, which is at cggarage.com/Discord. That will redirect you to our Discord, and please join part of the conversation. We talk about movies, including, of course, our podcast that we talk about as well. All right, but for now, please enjoy episode number 533 with Mr. Jeff Okun.
This episode of CG Garage is sponsored by CenterGrid Virtual Studio. Wondering why you went to film school just to be stuck managing hardware life cycles? CenterGrid delivers end-to-end GPU-accelerated cloud workstations built specifically for VFX and creative production, with flat, predictable pricing and personalized support from people who actually get your workflow. Plus, CenterGrid is TPN Gold Shield certified, so your studio's security is locked down. Check out what Virtual Studio can do for your pipeline at cgvirtualstudio.com. This episode of CG Garage is sponsored by Kitbash 3D, one of our favorite tools and an essential tool for 3D artists everywhere. With the largest library of cinematic quality, production-ready 3D assets, Kitbash 3D ensures that your studio has the tools to build stunning environments quickly, efficiently, and at scale. Design detailed worlds in a fraction of the time without compromising on quality. Head to kitbash3d.com and use the code CGGarage at checkout for 10% off any kit. Again, that's kitbash3d.com, code CGGarage.
I am. So this is the recording the audio, and that's recording video. So,
Excellent.
yeah. Well, very good.
I'm going to talk out of sync.
We'll sync it. We'll synchronize it. That's a nice thing. Like these tools now, they can sync videos so quickly.
I did sound for many years and I found that sync is a state of mind.
Right.
So you sit there and shift it one frame.
It feels wrong.
It's way out of sync. You
Yeah.
shift it the other way one frame, it's out of sync.
Mhm.
And you just go, oh.
For
And
sure.
you get actors like Donald Sutherland who talk like this, that nothing moves, and you're trying to sync stuff. And you just go, yeah, it's good enough.
It's true. It's true. I've wanted to do a podcast with you for years. And I don't know, my podcast has been around for 11 years, so it's been around for a long time.
I'm familiar.
Yeah, you're familiar. And I've wanted to do one for you for years, and I've tried to reach out to you, and I just didn't do the right thing. And then suddenly you guys reach out to me, and I was like, oh, perfect. This is great. So we can talk obviously about the book that you've done, and we can talk about, the state of the industry, which I'm sure you have talked about ad nauseum. But before we put it, let's put some context into it.
Okay.
So let's talk about that. What is your history? Where did this all start for you?
Jeez.
You said audio, but
No, it started much sooner. When I was 8 or 9, my dad had a friend who was a stuntman.
oh wow.
And
Where was he, in LA? Or?
yeah, in Los Angeles. My dad was a dentist. He was the dentist to the stars.
Oh wow. Okay.
Frank Sinatra,
Really?
Lana Turner, they'd all come by the house for their emergencies.
Right.
Dean Martin.
Wow.
It was weird. Anyway, so the stunt guy, who I don't remember his name, but he used to do Lay's potato chip commercials. I think it was, anyway. And he was the stunt car driver in Viva Las Vegas, and he was, did all the westerns. Anyway, he taught me how to fake fight.
Oh wow.
And so I'm like 8 or 9 years old. And then at the corner of our street, I had friends that I would get there and we'd pour ketchup over everybody. And there was always heavy traffic at 6 o'clock.
Right.
And I'd have a camera hidden in the bushes.
Right.
And these guys would go at it. I taught them everything that he taught me. And they're down and there's blood everywhere and people would stop. That's where it started.
So it was very much like the movie Super 8, like you guys trying to make movies out of, like with just creating invention stories, right?
Yeah, we didn't go for narrative. We
Right.
went for, look, we can make people stop. It's very cool.
Right. Awesome. So then how did it evolve from there?
Well, let's just say that I'm the Lucy Ricardo of visual effects. So every time a star came to the house,
Mm-hmm.
I would pepper them with questions. And our next door neighbor was Andrew McLaughlin, whose father was Victor McLaughlin.
Right.
And so I was like 5 or 6 years old and they let me hold the Oscar.
Wow.
Victor got an acting Oscar. And Andrew directed lots of movies, Guns of Navarone, mostly Westerns. And then he did Have Gun Will Travel.
Okay.
And then alternate weeks, he would do Gunsmoke.
Okay.
And so his kids is, Josh McLaughlin was Jim Cameron's AD for many years. And now he's a producer, and his sister. So every weekend, it felt like we had a fence between the properties, and you'd see these heads go bobbing by over the fence. So it'd be Richard Boone or John Wayne or James Arness. And so I'd go over to the house to go swimming and just to see these guys. And so like John Wayne used to bounce me on his knee, and he used to say, well, Dusty, there ain't a horse that can't be rode, and there ain't a man who can't be throwed. And then he'd throw me in the swimming pool. So they would sit around and tell these great stories about being on location, doing the Westerns, and they made everything so amazingly romantic that I just was going, man, is this real? I don't understand, because I used to watch a TV show called Bat Masterson.
Okay.
And one day, while it was on the air, I was watching it, and the knock on the door, and it was Gene Barry who starred in it. I slammed the door in his face and went back to look on the TV to see if our front door was in the episode of Bat Masterson. I'd go back, and it was very mind-boggling for me.
Right.
So I basically mushed all those things together, and then I'm naturally curious.
Yep.
I'm doing everything in my power not to push any buttons here, but if there's a button to be pushed, I push it.
Right.
And so then I learned how to edit. I learned how to shoot. And I worked for Saul Bass, who, if you don't know who he is, you should look him up.
Yep.
So he was a world-known graphic designer and the father of the modern title sequence, and really a creative guy. Anyway, I worked for Saul as a Gopher. And
North by Northwest title sequence was done by him. Amongst many.
All the Hitchcock titles,
Yep.
all the Otto Preminger titles, all the John Frankenheimer titles, the Richard Brooks, Looking for Mr. Goodbar. Then he moved on to Martin Scorsese with Casino. And so it was quite an education.
So how did you end up getting a job with Saul Bass? And why did you move towards the more technical button pushing? Why did you get interested in that?
Well, you push a button and miraculous things happen sometimes.
Sure.
So if there's a button, got to push it to see what's going to happen.
Right.
Got me thrown out of a number of trade shows when I was in my early 20s.
Yep.
But the great thing is, back in the day, it was very mechanical. So there's all these new green devices like the Moviola, a sync block, a butt splicer. So I got a job with Saul because I needed a job.
Okay.
And his wife was a patient of my dad's.
Sure.
And my next door neighbor was a composer by the name of Jeff Alexander, who his claim to fame is he arranged for the Gershwin brothers.
Right.
Then he got a contract at MGM, and I would spend a lot of time because he thought he was technically superb and actually could not change a light bulb. So I would go over there and I'd spend hours and hours, and then I had my own recording studio, and I'd bring it over and I'd record multi-tracks so that he could, have a nice thing to play for whoever it was.
Right.
And then he invited me to some scoring sessions, and he did all Saul's music. So
Gotcha.
he called Saul, Elaine called Saul, and then we recorded something for something Saul's working on. And Jeff said, take this tape and go down and only give it to Saul so that you can meet him.
Okay.
So I went down, and Elaine answered the door. I'll never forget the whole thing. Anyway, And I explained who I was, and she says, "Oh, Saul." And Saul was wearing a bathrobe and came to the door and said, "Oh, okay, let me have the tape." And I said, "I'm looking for a job, and I hear you have something open." And he goes, "I'm not the person to talk to, but talk to this person, call him Monday."
Okay.
And so I got hired.
Wow.
And my job as a gopher, I'd start at 8:30. Business would close. It was a graphic design firm,
Mhm.
and it would close at 5:30. And then when Saul had film projects or industrial films or TV commercials to do, Saul would work until from 5:30 till 2 or 3 in the morning, and then he didn't drive, so I would have to drive him, pick him up, and drive him home.
Sure.
So I'd have to hang out, and while I was there, there was a lot of button pushing going on.
Right.
And so the shorter version of this is they were doing the 50th anniversary of NBC, and there was a sequence that got cut, and I had begged the producer, who was named Gary Rockland, who became a good friend of mine, who went to USC with George Lucas,
Mhm.
which is how I met George Lucas at Moose and Frank's one day, not believing that was George Lucas. And I
Right.
said to Gary, I go, "That little guy?" Anyway, and Saul was Lucas's student advisor.
Okay.
So anyway, I begged him. I said, I don't know how to edit, but can I give it a shot? And he goes, "Yeah, sure. We're not going to use it." So I literally spent 6 weeks editing this piece. So I would get up at 8:30, get the donuts and pastry, get all the coffees on, refill all the water bottles, go get Saul, come back, give him his cottage cheese, send the packages, do everything. 5:30, close the business, go in the back and watch him work, and then they go home at 2 or 3, and then I'd take over on the thing, and I was cutting my piece. So Rockland came to me one day, and he goes,
You must have been exhausted.
"No, I slept on the floor. It was fine
Okay.
under the editing bench until I discovered there were cockroaches." And of course, it was my job to get rid of the cockroaches
Right.
because I was the gopher. But Rockland came to me and he goes, "That piece, the soap opera piece?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "We need it. So whatever you did, take it all apart, reconstitute the reels so that we can start it tomorrow." Excuse me. And I said, "Well, won't you at least look at it?" And so he looked at it and he said, "Just wait here." And then he went and got Saul. Saul came in and he looked at it and said, who did this? And Rockland goes, "Your gopher did it." And he said, And he ran out and got the the producer of the NBC show, who was Alvy Singer, I think.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
And he came in and looked at it, and he said in front of me to Gary and Saul, he goes, "Congratulations, guys, this is the first piece that's going on the air."
Wow.
So then Saul called me into his office, and he said, "Well, my boy, from now on, you're my editor."
Wow.
And I said, "Saul, I don't know how to edit." And he goes, "I'll teach." And so through Saul, I learned to edit. I learned, everything. I learned, shooting, because I'd have to sync the dailies and then sit there with him and he'd go, "Now here's what's wrong with this shot."
Right.
And I learned how to production manage, and then I was doing the budgets, and I was the post-production supervisor. And then he couldn't do something one day, and he goes, "You think you can shoot this?" And I go, yeah. And he goes, "All right." So we had a really great DP from Idaho, Eric Hardstead, I think his last name was. And he, I'd set it up and he'd tell me everything I was doing wrong. So it was a big education. And then the big day came, which was Saul called me into his office. He says, "Okay, my boy,
Mm-hmm.
graphic design or film? Choose." And I went, "Film." And he goes, "Then you're fired." And I went, wait, is it too late? And he goes, "Yes, it's too late." And I go, "How come I'm fired?" And he goes, in film, when there's no work, you're out of here." And he goes, "So when we get something, I'll call you."
Right.
And I was like, okay. And I went out to dinner with a friend of mine who was at a sound company.
Uh-huh.
And I was getting paid $500 a month by Saul.
Okay.
And I went in, I walked into this lobby, and this little guy, Jay Carroll, came up to me and goes, "Do you cut sound?" And I went, "Silly question. I cut picture. You have to cut sound." So I said, "Yeah, of course." And he goes, "Do you want a job?" And I went, doing what? He goes, cutting sound. And I go, not really. And he goes, it pays $658 a week and we'll get you in the union. And I was
That's
going,
a big difference.
yeah, I said, when can I start? And
Right.
he goes, right now. And he put me in a room with footage from Hometown USA, a film by Max Baer Jr.,
Okay.
late of the Beverly Hillbillies,
Uh-huh.
and said, you're cutting ADR. And I sat there and had no idea what I was doing. And I went next to the room next to mine, and there's a very nice guy in there. And I said, I don't know what I'm doing. He goes, here, I'll teach you. And he plugged me in and taught me
Right.
how to do it. And then Rockland went off to work with Chuck Braverman and Jerry Kramer, and they did trailers and commercials and music videos on film. And Rockland would call me up and goes, you want to cut Kiss? And I went, absolutely. So I would work nights cutting music videos. And I started to, because of my education with Saul, I started to put things in the music videos that you couldn't do.
Interesting.
And I figured out ways to do them. And because of Saul, we worked at, he did a lot of work with the Pacific Title,
Mm-hmm.
which is another kind of humorous story.
Okay.
I brought something to them and I said, how much will this cost? And they looked at it and they said, it's like, $15,000. And I said, okay, I'll just bring that back to Saul. And they go, Saul Bass? And I said, yeah. And they go, we won't do it. And so I went to every optical house in Los Angeles and nobody would work with Saul.
Why?
Because he is very detail oriented, very specific, and very demanding.
Oh, so they know that it's too expensive to work for him.
Yeah, so it's no first or second or third iteration
Right.
on these things. And so I came up with what was later I named the Bass method of budgeting. And believe it or not, I learned never to tell Saul what something costs.
Okay.
And so I went to Pack Title and I said, what if we do this? I said, you give me your price, $15,000. I'll double it. I'll add a 10% contingency. We'll double that number and add a 20% contingency on top of that. Will that get you to do the work? And they go, oh yeah, then we'll do it.
Right.
And so Pack Title sort of took me in, and I got to sit with the lineup guys and then sit with the camera guys
Mm-hmm.
all night long again and learn how optical printers worked and how what an IP is and an IN and how the labs work. I would go to CFI or the other lab down the street, Sunset Studio Lab,
Mm-hmm.
and they would show me how the bass work and why you had to get it in. Anyway, it was an education. And what happened is that Saul had a commercial for Mitsubishi in Japan. It was a 30-second commercial and had 103 layers, overlapping layers in it.
Wow.
And Pack Title said, you can't do this on film.
Right.
And so I said, well, what if you do this pre-comp and instead of putting it on a IP, interpositive,
Mhm.
put it on a low contrast positive print with an orange filter in there.
Right.
And if you do that a number of times, then we can build it up and back roll the thing and use the projector head that had 9 rolls of film in it.
Mm-hmm.
So we could actually do this in only like 12 or 13 passes. So they told me it was crazy and we did it and it looked great.
Wow.
The grain was a bit,
Yeah.
but we did it. And from that day on, Pack Title started recommending me to go to movies where they were having problems with their visual effects.
Oh, okay.
So I became a fix-it guy for 5 years doing visual
What
effects.
year was this about?
It was 79
Okay.
because George Lucas invited Saul and I over to what was going to become Apogee to
Right.
look at all these cool toys that they
Right.
had before Star Wars was out. And George was very down. He was going, we're over budget, we're over schedule. It's a cartoon movie. Nobody's going to like it. The studio hates me, blah, blah. So we did all that, and I learned a lot just from walking around in that place.
Right.
And so that was 76. And then by the time I was out of Saul's, it was 3 years later, which is 79.
Right.
And then music videos, I started doing those in 80,
Okay.
and industrial films, and working with a lot of really talented people, um, the old editors who had done amazing things. And Saul had an editor whose name I can't remember. He's the nicest guy who never got credit. And he actually edited all the race car sequences in Grand Prix. He
Mhm.
got no credit.
Oh, wow.
And they won an Oscar for the montage sequences that he and Saul did. But that's another story.
Amazing.
So Saul taught me all sides of the business, including the political side,
Right.
and the money side and this and that. And so after 5 years of fixing other people's mistakes, some really fun things that in there, my probably favorite was Wes Craven's Shocker, which was revolutionary at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I took over from a lovely man who sold Wes an idea that he had his own optical printer. He could do it all really cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the big thing was that it was a fight sequence through various TV shows.
Okay.
So it was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got a call from Bob Shea at New Line after fixing one of his movies. And he said, Jeff, why don't you come and be this visual effects director on this movie and fuck it up from the beginning, and we'll bring somebody else in to fix it later.
So you'll be the guy with
Yeah.
the fire, right?
And so that was my first feature, which was Suburban Commando
Wow.
with Hulk Hogan and Christopher Lloyd and Shelley Duvall.
Wow. Okay.
All lovely people. But Bob's editor, I didn't like his edit, and I kept telling him that, I can edit this
Mm-hmm.
and make it better. So he let me do my cut, and I hired a friend of mine who was my underling, and Peter Schink, and we edited it. And then Bob and the editor went in, and they slept through the whole screening. And then the lights came up, and Bob went, "Oh, that's shit. We're going with his cut, not your cut."
Okay.
So then we combined the cuts, and I did the visual effects on that. And then, again, because of Saul was an early adopter of any new technology.
Right.
So
Okay.
every job we did was different. So including, he did the animated logos for Quaker Oats,
Okay.
and for AT&T back a long time ago.
Mhm.
And we flew to the Air Force computer in Denver to do this. And, Saul was friends with the Eames, Charles and Ray Eames,
All
and he
right.
was friends with the sort of the father of computer graphics, whose son owned Triple I. It'll come to me.
Okay.
And so we had all these reels and all these things. So because of my exposure to computers and doing all that stuff, I think my big break is I got hired to fix The Last Starfighter.
Yeah.
And it was really very entertaining. And what I didn't know, and my bravado back then, is amazing to me now, because, the problem they were having is they had a trailer that was due and they didn't have any footage. And
Okay.
Lorimar hired me and said, "Go find out why we don't have any footage."
Right.
So I went there, and
Was this your first foray into computer graphics in some ways?
the first time away from Saul.
Right.
So I had a pretty good knowledge, because boy, I wish I could remember his name. It'll
It's
come.
okay.
But his son and ran this computer company, and he, we tried to hire him on a number of projects
Yes.
for Saul, usually ones that involved the creation of the universe,
Right.
which would be gazillions of particles, which they couldn't do back then. And so I learned a lot. So I go into The Last Starfighter, and I'm saying, "So where's the footage?"
Sure.
And they're showing me monitors, and Ron Cobb, who became a really good friend of mine and a lovely man, Ron showed me this and that and the other thing and took me around, and Jim Rigel was there encoding the Starship to try and make it. And so many people that are still around, those really good old days. But we ended up sitting in a conference room, and like I say, my bravado, I stood up and I said, how many shots in this show? And say this and write them down. Mm-hmm. I go, and how many frames does that equate to? And they go, well, we don't know. And I go, let's just pick a number, an average number. You take that number down. I go, how long does it take you to generate a frame? So we did that. We did the math and said, okay, so you're going to be done with this show in a year and a half. And it's doing theaters in 6 months.
Right.
So what are we going to do? So that came as a revelation to them.
Right.
And there
weren't no render farms back then.
No. And they would render it to this little itty bitty color monitor, and they'd render it that big, and they had a camera that was shooting that. And when it's finished rendering, it would click, go away,
right,
not to be called back ever again.
Yeah.
And so if a frame screwed up, you were screwed.
Right.
So we did the math, and then I explained it to the guys at Lorimar, and my beautiful idea was I could get this done in 6 months easy if you let me build models and hire 4 or 5 different companies, and we could shoot it, to which I was unaware at the time, but that the computer company was financing the film.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that was a hard no.
Right.
And so they said, you're going to go down there and sit with them. So we'd sit there, and it was amazing because, Brad DeGraff was there, and Mormon was there, and Howie was there. And you'd sit there, and it was like a once a week, a prairie dog thing. They have the low things, and somebody pop up, and they go, I just figured out, and they figured out this big day was, they figured out how to make the laser beams not track with the turret, but go straight from where it came out of the turret. And, and they figured out so many things, and they've screwed up so many things that were obvious. Like they made a laser beam out of an asterisk, and you're looking at it going, well, that's not right.
Okay.
Didn't you see Star Wars?
Right.
So I wrote Herd on that show, and it was fun. All the artists and I became very close. They had their own club, and the computer that they were rendering on was the Cray X-MP 1.
Yeah, it's a big old supercomputer.
Giant thing.
Yeah.
And you could go sit in the middle of it.
Yep.
And which I did, which explains a lot of why my hair is gray.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody had to wrangle, the images, and the machine after midnight was owned by the government from midnight till 6 in the morning.
Right.
And so they themselves were shut out of the machine.
Right.
And so the artist would slip me little tiny slips of paper. They put it in my pocket when I wasn't looking. And I get home at night and go at this and go, here's tonight's password to check in on the renders.
Right.
So I could call up on my Radio Shack TR3.
Right.
And I could see the images that it was creating.
Wow.
And I could see the code and everything. And I would see, which we discovered many anomalies, key of which is they were doing other work, and by contract they couldn't.
Right.
So they were doing 2010 tests. They were doing a car commercial, and then I'd come into work, and there'd be like a monitor with a piece of Post-it on it that says, broken, do not turn on. And one of the notes in my pocket is, turn it on.
Right.
You turn it on, and, oh, it's a Mustang in there. And you go, hey, Sherry McKenna was producing it. Then I go, Sherry, what's with that? No, nothing. It's not. The monitor's broken. Turn it off.
Right.
So we got the show done one way or another, but because of the experience on that show, I guess I got a reputation amongst producers
Okay.
because one of the things I rarely do is lose my temper or get angry at people.
Sure.
I'm a reasonable guy until I'm not, like everybody.
Right.
So, I just started getting good shows. Who knew they were good?
Right.
Another turning point is Kleiser Walzak, run by Jeff Kleiser and Diana Walzak, got Stargate.
Yep.
And
Jeff's been on the show.
yeah, well, because I did Last Starfighter.
Right.
Jeff called me up and said, "You want to be our in-house supervisor for Stargate?" So I went, sat the set, and explained CGI to Roland, who
Right.
wanted nothing to do with it.
Right.
And I had to do all these crazy tests. And then at the end of it, Roland and Dean said, "Do you want to start a CGI company?" And I said, "Absolutely not. It's the worst choice you could make. You will lose your shirt because no one's going to pay for your overages but you."
Right.
And I said, "That's a really bad idea." So they went ahead and started Centropolis
Uh-huh.
and did great work until they closed it for whatever reasons that was.
Sure.
But again, because of Stargate, I got Cutthroat Island, which is a great film, and you all need to see it,
Mm-hmm.
in spite of what the PR was and the fact that it put Corelco out of business. But I was literally had my box, and we're going down in the elevator, and the producer goes, "What are you doing next?" And I go, "I haven't figured it out yet." And he goes, "You want to do Cutthroat Island?" And I go, "What's Cutthroat Island?"
Right,
He goes,
right.
"A pirate movie. And we'll be in Thailand, and we'll be in Malta. Oh, it'll be a lot of fun." I said, "Sounds great." So we went back up and met with Mario and Rennie Harlan. And my connection to Rennie on that show, whatever, I have no idea what Rennie thinks of me anymore, but I did a lot of movies with Rennie.
Okay.
I did Cutthroat Island, and then we did Long Kiss Goodnight and Deep Blue Sea and
Love those films.
Formula One.
Yep.
And a TV show we
I just
snuck in.
rewatched Long Kiss Goodnight not long ago, and I did see your name on it, which was awesome. But I was like, it's an interesting film. It's a weird one and good in a lot of ways. And who was in it?
Sam Jackson
Sam
and Gina
Jackson. Yeah,
Davis.
Sam Jackson was saying that it's one of his favorite films that he ever did.
I love Sam.
Yeah.
I did 3 films in a row with him, and that was the first.
Right.
But in Deep Blue Sea, I killed him, which is
You
his
did.
favorite death. He still
Love that.
He still says it's his favorite death.
Who wouldn't want that?
Well, it's a funny story because essentially, we met the day before, and he said, "Have you read the script?" And I said, "Yeah."
Mhm.
I said, "I'm wondering how you're going to do this," because it was 11 or 16 pages of some of the worst dialogue you've ever seen in the world.
Right.
And he was going, you should just kill me. And I said, "Well, if you get to this spot, I can kill you."
Right.
And so the next day we're shooting, and Sam goes, "You're going to kill me if I hit the spot." I said, I will kill you.
Right.
And so the speech, I think he got through the first 2 paragraphs, and he gets to this spot, and Rennie's like, cut.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "You've got like 17 pages. You got to make this walk from the back by the submarine to this spot last." And
Right.
and Sam wouldn't do it. Just take after take. He'd just keep getting there. And Rennie was getting very frustrated. And so we shot it, and I did all my multiple passes with splashes and all the things I needed to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then they edited the film together. And I was telling Rennie, I go, this is where we kill him. And he goes, "No, he's got to finish all that dialogue." He goes, "He didn't do the dialogue." And he goes, "ADR." And so they tested it and did not test well.
With the full dialogue. Yeah.
Didn't test well with anything.
Right.
Because Rennie was trying to make a tense horror film.
Right.
And so the studio, Warner Brothers, stepped in, and they put this editor, Frank Uriosity, who's retired now, but a great guy, and he turned it into the campy, fun thing it is.
That's awesome.
And I said, "Frank," I go, I could kill him right here. And he goes, "Oh, that'd be great." So we killed him. And if you really look at it, it doesn't look great, but it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
To me,
The whole point is it's taking you by surprise, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole point. Yeah.
But nobody was for it. And the shark looks like the Puccini whale in the Disney cartoon. And, we did everything. We shook the camera. We added blood splatting on the lens.
Right.
And then tested again, and the audience went insane.
Right.
And then Warner said, well, we've come up with $27 million for 27 shots at ILM. And I'm like, going, wait a minute, I got like 200,000 for the whole film, and you're going to give ILM 27 million?
Right.
Well, we know they'll deliver. So that's when I met John Knoll.
Oh, okay.
And suddenly the sharks are ripping him in half because the studio wanted more of that. And then we did the whole end sequence, because the original ending of the movie has Saffron Burrows, who's the lead scientist, surviving.
Right.
And everybody was going, that's like having Dr. Frankenstein be okay. I go, she's got to go.
Right.
So the testing proved that.
Right.
And so we made LL Cool J and Thomas Jane the heroes, and we shot that whole end scene in the pool at Warner Brothers.
Okay.
And we put Thomas on a mechanical shark.
Yep.
And I seem to remember John Knoll telling me that wasn't going to work, because he wanted it all programmed to be exactly like the moves were. And I was like, we don't have time. You guys got these levers, and we'll do it, because the background can be anything we want, because it's all blue.
Right.
So we shot it the way I wanted, and John and his team put it all together. But again, if you pay attention, it's a different shark completely, because they didn't like our shark.
Gotcha.
So they put in a blue shark instead of a white.
But you don't notice it.
Nobody knows. Nobody's ever said anything about it. But John used this because he had 6 weeks,
right,
to set up a new way of doing shots, which is, back then it was parallel tracks, so that the animators were animating with a proxy, and these model makers were building as fast as they could, and the texture guys were already working on the texture, and it wouldn't come together until the end. So it was very exciting.
That's awesome. Well, how did you get involved with the VES? Because you've always been sort of synonymous with the VES to me. Like, I remembering you being part of it from the very beginning, and every time I would see that. So how did that whole thing start for you?
Well, I heard rumor that the VES was starting, and
this was probably about 2001, 2002,
1997 or 8.
Oh, okay, so much before that.
Yeah, let's see. This is 26, maybe 96 or 7. Actually.
Okay.
But you need you should understand that I tried to start a visual effects union back in the 90s.
A visual effects union.
Visual effects union, part of IATSE.
Okay.
And I ended up meeting with Tom Short to talk about it at the Smokehouse. And Tom
in
and his 2 goons who sandwiched me in a booth and basically told me that not going to happen. And if I keep pushing it, something bad's going to happen. And so I kept going. And a year later, we had another meeting just like that meeting. And so I gave up on that at that time. But I heard the VES was going to be a union. So I was eager to find out anything I could about it.
I didn't know that the VES was going to be a union.
Well, it turns out that was false information.
Okay.
And the person that ran Digiscope, or Mary Stewart, she was in, and I said, get me in, Mary, get me in.
Sure.
So Mary got me invited in, and I discovered that it was a professional honorary society. And I was very impressed, because it was Ken Ralston, Dennis Murin, Phil Tippett, who am I leaving out? John Erlin, I don't think Doug Trumbull. No, it wasn't Doug yet,
Mm,
but it was all the heavyweights.
sure.
So just to get to be in the same room with them, it
Right.
didn't matter what they wanted. It's just like Richard Edlin, you
Right.
know,
Yep.
and it was like just sitting there, just soaking it all up. It's like, wow, I'm with all the real big guys that know how to do things.
Sure.
And so Jim Morris was leading the whole thing.
Right.
And they, at one of their board meetings, which back then everybody that was in it attended the board meeting. So they would
Sure.
get bigger and bigger. But he goes, we need an award show. And so they picked somebody to chair that committee. And then I volunteered to be on the committee. And we designed an award show, mostly meeting at eFilm back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back to whatever reason, nobody else was on the board, and it fell to me to present to the board. So I presented this award show that had 184 categories, and they just laughed me out of the room. And so I was embarrassed and laid very low. I didn't go to any more meetings for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then the executive director back then, I sent him an email and I said, you know what you should do? Contact all the special effects companies and have them design some big, super cool thing that could open an award show. And if they're selected, then they get to do it, and they'll do it for free because it gets them exposure to all the people that are going to be in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote me back, congratulations, you're now the chair of the awards committee. And so I spent another year researching awards.
Sure.
Which was very soul crushing. The Oscars, the Emmys, the ASC, SEMPTI Awards. There's some other costume Directors Guild Awards, you know. And so I wrote up a whole thing. I wrote up a plan, and I sat down and said, so if we can't have 184 categories, so I edited the categories down to 23 categories.
Okay.
And I went back and I said, here's the plan. And I did it. And Jim said, great, let's do it.
Amazing.
And so we had to figure out how to put on a show. And at the same time, and more importantly, we had to figure out how to run the nominations fairly and on a level playing field, and in a way that they can't be swayed by money or power. And so we came up with our techniques, some of which are no longer being followed, but that's neither here nor there.
Sure.
And the first award show, I was in New Zealand on Last Samurai and producing by phone. And I had Kim Lavery and Tim McGovern that I deputized to help me flesh out these rules and set it all up. And we had 364 people come to the first award show. And the special guest was an astronaut who did a slideshow on space. And
When was that first show?
23 years ago.
Right. So 2002 or so.
Yeah. And it gets confusing because it's like, you know, it's this year, the awards show is 2026, but it's really the 2025 show because it's only work from 2025. So
Right.
we're always getting confused about these things. But anyway, the show, you know, was well received. And then the next year we moved to, I believe, the Palladium
Mm-hmm.
because the 364 member was sold out.
Right.
And then lots of things occurred. And it was very gratifying at some point to stand backstage and go, wow, these awards actually mean something to the people winning them.
Right.
And look at all these people. And you look at the studios and the visual effects companies that are paying money to get their stuff seen and to come to the show, and, you know, and then flying people in from around the world. So it became a wonderful thing. So the rush from getting to create something like that with my cohorts, you know, it was like, okay, what's next? What can we do next? You know,
Sure.
we'll keep this running. And then when I got to be chair under the silly name of VES 2.0,
Right.
we tried to get some balls on the VES and give them some power.
When was that?
When was the big kerfluffle?
2013.
That's when it was.
Yeah.
And so,
Which was what was the kerfuffle? I know the kerfuffle, but tell people what the
there's
kerfuffle
so
was.
many things that came together for the kerfluffle. The kerfluffle got ignited the night of the Oscars when we visual effects people got a permit to protest
Right.
outside the Oscars, but it's actually several blocks away. And they had signs that were just green. Nothing was written on them.
Yep.
Then,
It was for Life of Pi. More specifically.
well, that was the year that won.
Right.
But it wasn't for Life of Pi.
It was for the acknowledgement of the visual effects industry.
Right.
Yeah.
And then inside, we had Sam Jackson and all of his co-actors from some Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And the teleprompter broke.
Yep.
And they said, well, fuck it. And so insult number 2.
Right.
And then Bill Westerhofer, the visual effects supervisor for the Life of Pi, was supposed to give his political statement first and then his thank yous. But if you've never gotten an award, you don't know what's going on. And so he did his thank yous, and then they played him off using the theme to Jaws and cut his microphone.
While he was giving his political statement.
Yeah. And so that was like throwing a lit match in a gas factory.
Yep.
Everybody went berserk, and they wanted the VES to do something, and wasn't anything we could do
Right.
as a professional honorary association. We tried to explain that. We got nailed to the cross and set on fire. I got death threats. We tried to get, there was people writing anonymously online, like Visual Effects Soldier and VFX Law, and
Yep.
all that. They were fanning the flames. Turned out they were, one of them anyway, was being paid to do that and being told what to do. And I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to hold a town hall, and we're going to get everybody in this room, and we're going to let everybody have their say, and we're going to have our say, and then we'll split the room up into who has what interest and let them start to work on it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody would come. We got boycotted by VFX Soldier specifically. And then we tried to, he goes, I'm not blowing my cover. And I go, well, we'll give you a phone and you can phone it. And he goes, no, because then you'll see me pick up the phone. I go, we'll leave it in a garbage can. And we, we did everything we could think of, and they just weren't having any of it. And then somebody started another group, and they had a town hall that they invited us to, and we got eviscerated in it. Mike Chambers went to explain our side. He never got to say anything effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we learned from that experience, from the kerfuffle, is exactly what the VES can do and can't do. We're not a union. We're not a collective bargaining agent. We're not a trade organization. But we believe there should be a union and there should be a trade organization. And what we can do is foster, hold meetings.
Unfortunately, you were the only thing that was any kind of organization.
Well, yeah.
That was the problem, right? And so people looked to that organization to say, do something.
Yeah.
And you couldn't do anything. And I think people had a hard time with that response, like including myself. I'll be very, very, very honest about it. I've been honest about it in the past. That was like, I sort of weighed in on this thing. I was like, I knew that this situation was a problem. Obviously, we knew the industry was in a big disarray. And I was like, what am I getting out of the VES right now? Because right now I need to get something, and I had a hard time figuring that out. And so I still think the VES is a great organization. I'm not denying that, but I think it was the idea that, like, well, someone's got to get their shit together.
Right. And the most we could do was a strongly worded letter, which was very disappointing to everybody.
Well, I think also the fact that Ang Lee got an award the same year that he blew off the visual effects people at the Oscars was insult to injury from the VES.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But there are reasons. One of them is that the people that get the awards, it takes months and months.
Of course.
And so it's too late to change the ship there.
Right.
But what people don't know is that we went right to the union.
Yep.
And we said, okay, now's your chance. And this is it. And we secretly met with the union at their request.
Oh, interesting.
For 3 years.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
We had a panel together of all the leaders in both our industry and the special effects industry.
Okay.
And we told them how to do it. We told them what we needed. We told them what all their benefits was. But at that time, the union, it's best summed up that they put out a video. And the video was basically a takeoff on launching a rocket. So it was all these old guys in short sleeve white shirts with pencil protectors and buzz cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And, they were telling you why you should be union. And we were going, why would you do this? This is like not it at all. I go, you need an online presence. All you got to do is let people sign the cards online. And they go, no, we're going to do it on the studio lot.
Mm.
And I said, they won't come and sign it on the studio lot because if they're seen signing, they're fired.
Right.
And so after 3 years of working with them, we finally just said, we give up.
Right.
Oddly enough, when we went to them, was very gratifying for me because they go, we have quite a file on you. And I said, because I've tried this 2 times before.
Right. Yeah.
And they said, well, that's why we think it's going to work this time. And he goes, my first question to him is, so you form a union. The union covers exactly what territory? And they go, well, we cover LA and New York and a little bit of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, so if we form a union in LA, now all my people are more expensive. What's to stop the producers from going to England?
Right.
And they go, well, that's none of our concern.
Well, yeah.
And I'm going, no, it's a huge concern.
Look at what is happening, not just for visual effects, for everything in filmmaking right now.
So the union is...
Atlanta is suffering because they're union.
Yeah. It's a rough thing. And what you need is a global union, and then it'll work.
Which is why I think people like Scott Ross were talking about trade organizations, because they believe that that's like a mutual agreement situation. But
well, editing.
Yeah.
When we had the third trade organization meeting, VES hosted 2, and it was clear nobody wanted one. And we did it with all the major players and as many minor players as we could get.
Mm-hmm.
Scott held one.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really interesting because he had Disney on the phone who said, this is collusion. We can't be a part of it. They hung up.
Right.
London said, why would I want to help you level the playing field and take work away from us? And so they got off the phone.
Yep.
Then a mid-sized visual effects company that I won't name said, we don't need you. We have a yacht. We make lots of money. We don't need anything to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
And the meeting just sort of fell apart. And in the end, Scott said, well, this is why you need it. And somebody said, well, what's that going to cost? And he told them, and everybody stood up and left. They weren't willing to part with that kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a problem as a vertical, and that is if we say no, somebody else is going to say yes, and we live in fear of that.
Yep.
So if we could get every visual effects person in the world to put down their stylus or turn off their computer or stop watching a render or stop doing a budget for 3 days,
mm-hmm.
suddenly the power of what we could do would come into focus and we'd be able to have a negotiating standpoint. But right now, it's, as the ex-executive of Warner Brothers, head of visual effects, said, I don't need you guys. I have Australia. I don't need them. I have London. I don't need them because I'll start it in New Zealand. I'll start it in Colombia.
Sure.
So it's just frustrating and angerfying because you don't want to publicize all your failed efforts. but at least under my regime at the VES, we were aware of them and tried to do things with them. We got Steven Spielberg to give us his legal team.
Amazing.
And, we got George, to say yes to us and everything. And they were all for us making progress. But they would never, we wanted them to go public, and they never would go public with it. And you would think that George would, because he left here because of unions.
Right.
And the abuse that the DGA was forcing on him, that he wanted his titles at the end or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very frustrating, and it's still frustrating. And I think a union will be formed, but it's not the union we need. It's a union that's going to more prey on people as opposed to represent them. There's a great story. We met with Local 600, the cinematographers union,
Mm-hmm.
and Stephen, I think it was Stephen Poster was the president then, and Bob Coleman was our treasurer then. And
Yep.
so we went there and we met with them, and they said, we want to take all of your members. Say you say yes, and tomorrow our union is open to anyone who does visual effects, and so we had a conversation of how are you going to represent us? How's it going to happen? And then Bob goes, well, how long will it take until the producers will accept you as our collective bargaining agent? Everybody was, whoa, well, it could take 20 years, or it could never happen at all. And Bob goes, but you're still charging us an entry fee and monthly dues.
Right.
And they said, yeah. And I go, and do we get health insurance? And they go, not until the producers agree. And so we were going, so what's in it for us to do this? Well, we'll be your representatives. And you're going, what's your plan to get us accepted, get yourself accepted by the producers? And they said, well, we'll call a meeting, and we'll talk to, the head, and see if he'll throw some head of the union, see if he'll throw some weight behind us, and this, that. And Bob goes, so in other words, you want us to pay the entry fees, you want us to pay the quarterly fees, and there's no guarantee you're going to ever be able to give us anything.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, yeah. And we said, yeah, let us know when you have a better plan.
The goal, I mean, if you think about of union as a business, I'm not saying this is specifically what they do, but a union as a business is to get as many members as possible.
That's what one would think.
Right. But the only way to do that, also to pay out as little as possible to every member.
Yes, I'm experiencing that now.
Right.
Yes.
So I think that's the thing, right? It's like they don't care. Like, I saw a business person who's not related to the film industry, but he was talking about the Screen Actors Guild. It's like there's so many members of the Screen Actors Guild, way more members than could ever be used in the film, like 10 times more that are used in the industry. And so their goal is just to get more people to sign up to be SAG members,
Right.
to get more fees.
They make money on every member.
Yeah.
And, we talked to SAG.
Yeah.
We've talked to the DGA for 1 million years now.
Yep.
Saying, at least let visual effects producers in as UPMs and supervisors so that we can be visual effects directors again, like we used to be before they laid down the law and said, you're not allowed to use that term because you're not in.
Right.
We've done everything possible. We've gotten all the heavyweights who are visual effects people and are in the DGA. They're not budging. And I'm speaking on my behalf, we don't understand it.
Sure.
I don't know why people are so afraid of letting us have our fair share of the pie, because nobody's going to the movie to see Shia LaBeouf do anything. They're going to see
it's about control, though.
Yeah, but it's like, I'm this old and been in it this long, and I am prickly when they go, why are there so many credits at the end of a movie? And you go, you mean the ones that should be at the front of the movie because this is what it takes to do it? Meanwhile, you're fine with seeing the caterer's driver in there and, the 35 producers' assistants
Mm-hmm.
who never set foot on set. But God forbid everybody that did the visual effects gets named in these credits. And by the way, the VES did an initiative to try and get that done, and we got slapped down by the studios as well. So that was also under 2.0. Mike Fink led that charge. It's you really, I don't have to tell you, you really feel like the unwanted stepchild.
For sure.
But meanwhile, if we don't show up, they don't have any movies. They don't have any TV shows. They don't have any commercials. They don't have anything. They don't even have print ads,
Right.
But because there's the visual effects mentality is, I'll do it for a Coke and a pizza to get my name out there.
But doesn't that part of the thing, right? Because the visual effects was so easy. I think we've oversaturated the industry.
A little bit.
Too many people, right?
It's getting thin now.
It's thin. Well, yeah, just by default, right? But we oversaturated, and we, I think in the education side of things, I think it's wonderful. But at the same time, I think we oversaturated, where we were promising people, get a degree here, and you'll be working at Pixar and make your favorite movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, was misleading because, that's not necessarily the case.
Absolutely. But that's why we wrote the stupid book. So
tell us about this not so stupid book, but it's the Bible to many people.
Well, it's a well-researched document led by, Susie Swerman and me. And this year we got Susan Thurman O'Neill in it.
Oh, I love Susan.
She's a powerhouse.
Yep.
And
she's been on too.
well, Susan's going to be the editor of the 5th edition.
Oh, fabulous.
And but the point of the book is we're trying to codify certain approaches and educate people so they know what it does. And it's a great textbook. As a working professional, it's a great reference book. And, there's a whole online version that has a lot more chapters because we've never thrown a chapter out. So even though we don't do stereo very much in there, all the stereo chapters are online. You buy a copy of the book, you get access to all that. Some of it's downloadable. But, we search out who are the leaders, who are doing the great stuff, and ask them to write, and then go through the miserable process of editing people who don't know how to write. And, it's amazing. It's just amazing to me how smart people are and how some smart people just, can't write. So there's
Can't communicate.
many chapters are ghost written and then sent to them for approval.
Right.
And they get it that way. But the book itself is, the original idea was it was a pocket book.
Mm-hmm.
And the first edition, I think, had 1,200 pages. So they went that idea.
Yeah.
So now you can get it as an iPad book, which makes it more like a pocket book.
Mm-hmm.
But it's it's something that I'm proud of, and the society. It sells well every year. I think it's the #1 textbook for visual effects schools. It won the Pros Award for technical manuals. So
That's amazing.
who couldn't be proud of that?
Sure.
And, the object is, it's like this year we've really updated it in terms of AI, augmented reality, the combo XR. We dabbled into the whole virtual production line, and because Susie and I wrote a whole book on virtual production separately. So we took some stuff out of that, and you can, get that book or reference it or at your library or whatever. One of the issues with the book is we've had the same publisher all the time. We can't seem to get away from our publisher because we want to do cool things, like there should be QR codes in it. And so that when you go to this thing, you could put your phone up and see moving examples of stuff, but they said it's too expensive.
Right.
And the number of pages is budget driven. And the layout is budget driven because, this is their standard layout. If we want something else, then it costs too much to make, and then they don't make their money. So we're always looking for the new publisher. The SE was going to do it, but we couldn't get out of that. And then we always get a foreword written by somebody notable. The 3rd edition had Doug Trumbull. This edition has John Knoll with a look to the future. And
Doug's been on the podcast too.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he's much more interesting than me.
That's no, wouldn't say that, but yeah, he's fabulous. I love. Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, he's passed away, but incredible person. Yeah,
Yeah. Dog, come on.
yeah.
Ray Harryhausen used to love the book,
Wow.
and we covered stop motion, which is, on the website now, but it's a source of pride for both the VES and for me. And in terms of education, if they're going to get educated, let's educate them correctly, because
Yes.
as a working visual effects supervisor, many times on set, I see other visual effects supervisors, usually vendor side, they have no idea what they're doing. And, what's important on set is you have to be able to think on your feet, dance on a bowling ball that's rolling,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to get the shot, because they all hate us.
Sure.
I had one DP who loved us, two DTs that loved us, but we're always the people stealing their time or stealing their light or increasing their budget because we need a blue screen or a container wall or whatever it is. And inevitably at the end with the cast and crew screening, they always say, well, if I knew you were doing that, we would have really, helped you out. And the other thing that drives me up the wall, as long as I'm at it, is that, we sit around on set a lot.
Yes.
And, we're the digital janitors for most of the time going, I really should take the coffee pots out of this shot since it's a period piece, so you go run over and take the coffee pots. But at the same time, I've had a lot of directors or DPs say, I don't really give a fuck, you can fix it. It's a fix it and post business. We don't know why you're here. And you get these other supervisors who don't have the history or the background, and they don't know what to do. Whereas experienced people who have the background run around behind the scenes and make the thing happen the right way anyway, or find another way. It's like, I had one DP who said, no green screens, no blue screens, no chart and balls, no clean passes. And you're going, oh, okay. So, we had all these 4x8 cards painted up, and I had a couple of PAs, and then he'd roll and they'd run and hold the card up behind the person, and then they get yelled at by the DP, and he'd cut. And we glued the chart and balls onto the slate, and he'd smash the slate. So it's not like, you really need to know what you can get away with and what you can't get away with. And then this is where producers come in big time, is they need to be able to communicate why the budget's going up, because we're always accused that our budgets are out of control. And as I told my good executive friends at Warner Brothers once, I go, yeah, our budgets are out of control because you approved this and approved the overage on this shot that you asked for.
Right.
We didn't ask for it. So tell me how we're out of control.
Also, because you're just blaming everything on post. Like, we'll fix it in post, and then post is really expensive.
Yeah. Well, the editor's not told what the budget of visual effects is.
Nope.
And people, money comes, and it's an entertaining process that is repeated on every film. There's never enough money. The appetite's too big. On one show for Fox, we did like 8 different budgets on 8 radically different scripts. And they wanted us to be at like 8 million, and we kept coming in 12 million, 16 million, 22 million. And they go, why? And you explain to them why, and you show them the budget estimates and everything. And then they rewrote the script and changed the ending of the movie to a giant robot walking down 7th Avenue in winter with the entire U.S. Army chasing him. And then he walks into the harbor and lifts a ship out and throws it at them, and then walks away and submerges. And our budget went up from 12 million to like 15 million. And they go, but why? And I go, you added 30 pages to the script. What do you mean, why?
Yeah.
They never get the cause and effect that goes on. And so as an experienced supervisor, you could help them with that. You can really work through the political machinations that make a movie makeable.
Yeah. What was that?
I don't know. I just saw your screen.
Oh, my screen just flickers off and on. Well,
okay.
Yeah. So I'm curious about how you feel about the changes in the industry real quick, because like, I feel that certain directors have been more educated these days, right? I mean, you mentioned F1, for example. Joe Kaczynski does understand CG. He knows what's going on, right? And even people like David Fincher and Tim Miller, and these are all people that come from CG backgrounds that have a better understanding of what the process is. Do you feel that there's a change in terms of the way that people see CG that's starting to happen more now?
No.
No? Okay.
And I'll tell you why.
Why?
It's because as an industry, we're very good at misinformation.
Yes.
And we're very,
As a country, we are too.
yeah, I wasn't going to go there,
But go ahead.
but I could do an hour on that alone.
That's okay.
It's like when you look at what we advertise the software, we advertise the speed of the computer, we advertise how many computers, how many processors we can get. We don't talk about, like Russell Bowen,
Mhm.
who's up for Superman, by the way,
Yeah.
actually being the guy that created it at the keyboard.
Right.
And so most of the producers, most of the directors, they just think it's easy. And why are we so, what are you complaining about? There are some directors who get it and they're sheer joy to work with. There's a collaboration going on. You can go to them and help them with their vision and really enhance the scale and the scope without increasing their budgets, and then there are other directors, who don't want a blue screen on set, and you're going to roto it all, and
Mhm.
you're explaining to them with the book. Always
Right.
give the director the book and go, so he's got black hair that's blowing in the wind against an unlit black background, and you go over to the dit tent and go crank it up and show him what's there in the file, and he cranks it up and you go, look, there's no difference between his hair and the background. So how do we roto that?
Mhm.
You want me to make it up? Say this is what his head would look like if we could see it?
Right.
And they just waste their money that way.
Mhm.
So the other thing too is AI
Mhm.
and Macintosh. I've had directors tell me that their kids have this great Mac program, and and he could be doing the shots.
Yeah.
And there's so much misinformation about AI right now.
Yep.
Apparently AI is going to replace us all, and it can do, whole movies, and, it can intimately do expressions and this and that. And I'm sure it can, given, enough processing power, enough time.
No, it can't, because it doesn't know how to do iterations. It only knows how to do version 1. So that reason.
Well, that's the key. So I say AI is great for creative iterations. I go, here's what I want. Now let's regenerate and see what it does. And you go,
Right.
wow, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah.
But I was talking to, oh boy, it was somebody big.
Okay.
And he was explaining to me that the problem with AI, oh, it's Brandon Braga.
Mhm.
The problem with AI is that its database is only things that have been done.
Yes.
It's
Don't-
not things that haven't been done. And
Yep.
he goes, so if it were 1905 and we had an internet and said, okay, how can man fly? It'll come back going, it's impossible. Man can't fly.
Right.
Because all the information says man can't fly.
Right.
But it can't put together the pieces like Orville and Wilbur did and say,
Mhm.
wait, here's how man can fly. So it cannot create truly innovation, new things, or any new
That's
things.
correct.
It can only show you what's been done in a different way,
That's right.
and so our
It
jobs
gives
are
you the most
secure.
predictable result based on information that is
Right. But
out there.
look at all the failures in the last year alone. MGM putting their whole library into
Mhm.
the AI and had to abandon it because it just couldn't do it, and it'll get better and it'll get faster and all that stuff. But the real thing is that everybody's afraid they're losing their jobs.
Mhm.
And in fact, you're not losing your jobs. Your jobs are getting more doable, which means they're going to be harder because they're going to be asking more of you like they
Yep.
always do. And at the same time, it's progressing, and there's a a whole new field open to us, prompters, AI specialists, I've been, for the last year and a half, I've been involved with generative AI, I guess you call it. All I wanted to do is take the storyboards I drew, which look like crap,
Mhm.
and then make it look like a professional guy drew them. And it can't do that. It keeps changing. I have two people in the desert, a man and a man,
Mhm.
and they're standing watching the sunset. And I want to be able to see dunes go on forever and ever with atmospheric effect in them. And then it's a man and a woman having a picnic, and then it's two women, and then it's no sun, but we get the sunlight. And then it's like it's only one dune, and it's just like I spent trying to do a storyboard for the show I'm on right now.
Mhm.
For the opening shot. I paid the money to 3 different ADI services.
Mhm.
I spent at least 25 hours on each one of those services. I have nothing to show for it.
Right.
It just can't do what I want.
There are going to be tools, but here's the thing. Like, I think people keep thinking prompts and prompts and prompts, and you have to be able to write what you want. That might start to change.
Well, yeah.
I think people are going to start using buttons again,
buttons.
where you say, give me this, and you select it from a button, and you should get what you expect, as opposed to having to know the prompt that you have to type in to put it in.
Well, yeah. But you're aware that the ASC did a AI summit,
Mm.
and it was very entertaining because they got Randall Kleiser and I can't remember the name of the DP, but a very famous DP
Mm.
gave him a 2-page script, 2 AI specialists, and 40 hours.
Mhm.
And they came back and they told us their tale and saying, well, here's what we generated. And yes, we're telling the story in the most basic sense, but here are my storyboards to tell the story. And that couldn't do this, and it couldn't do this. And then it's 2 girls. It's supposed to be a young girl and an older girl, and they're both the same age, and they're both wearing the same clothes. They're clones, and they're not supposed to be that. And they blow the train up, and the train went up and landed back on the tracks. And next time it blew up and turned into 7 trains and landed on 7 tracks. And then it blew up into tiny little watch parts, and it's like they said at the end of the 40 hours, our mistakes were much more fun to look at than the story, because it's so mundane what it could do.
Right.
And like one of the girls, it's supposed to be an over-the-shoulder shot, and the train's coming, and the girl's supposed to raise a detonator up
Mhm.
and push the button, and he goes, and it raises it up, and it's a flashlight she turns on, and then raises it up, and it's a lantern. And so we sent in a reference photo of a detonator, and then the hand came up, and it was like 40 feet high, and it's just like we couldn't get it, so we just took the girls out of the shot,
Right.
took the detonator out of the shot, and just blew the train up, and
That sounds like a lot of compromise.
yeah, and the AI people, the AI specialists, they're going, well, we used 14 different AI programs. We used these 3 programs to write the prompts,
Yeah.
rewrite the prompts to get it in, this, that. It couldn't do that. And he just wanted to change this one thing, but it changed everything. And, it's like you say, it's not iterative. It's just,
Yep.
here's a version of it. Here's a version of it. You get lucky if you get 2 to cut together.
Yep.
And somebody I was talking to recently saying, well, that's, we've solved that. And I said, great, could I see it? And they said, no,
No.
it's secret. It's all secret.
Yeah, it's all secret. I understand. And you're right. I mean, I think that the film industry is going to sort of go through some changes. What do you think what does it look like to you? Like, what does the future of this new Hollywood look like to you?
Well, I have 2 versions of New Hollywood, the one I want, the one I think is going to be there.
Tell me what you want first.
What I want is I want respect for visual effects first and foremost.
Okay.
And that shows itself in a number of ways, which is, collaborative pre-production, professional production, and collaborative post-production.
Mhm.
And what we get is, what I expect is, since we continue to advertise how easy everything is,
Right.
I expect that we'll get less and less respect, and it's like in the pre-production period when you try to be collaborative, they will just say, it's all right there on the script. Just do what's in the script.
Right.
And so we become factory workers.
Yep.
And we can do it. We can do anything. And there's always somebody or some company willing to do it at whatever price they say. You know, we went through a period in the early 2000s when the studios were dictating the price. And I think we're going back that way now. And because the studios are all failing, and now it's Netflix and Amazon and all those guys, and Apple, can't leave Apple out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, you want your foot in our door. This is what we got. Show us what you can do. And people are doing it.
Yeah.
I would, you know, like, since we can't seem to form a union, I would like other unions to let people into those unions. For example, I've always been in a union since 1989.
Okay.
And I always made it part of my contract that my employers had to pay me under that union. And only one of them said, well, that's fraud. And I said, no, it's not fraud, because look what I'm doing for you. I am actually editing whole sequences for you. So I am an editor. I want to be paid as an editor.
Right.
And so, you know, it's all so simple and easy within reach. And there's this wall that stretches, but we can't break through it. It's like, I don't understand why the DGA won't let us in. I don't understand why the Animation Guild, who keeps trying to get us in, doesn't let us in. You know, with the representation, with being able to negotiate our contracts. In lieu of all this, you know, it's like, I tried now for almost 30 years trying to get the union going. You know, somebody else will be more successful than me, because people change, and my generation at the union, you know, is what it is. But it would be nice, and it'll never happen, but it would be nice if we recognized artists as opposed to software. You know, and it's like, I always chase artists that I know, because I love their work and I know it. But
I remember one of my first sort of jobs in the visual effects, and I was working at DD, and it might have been 2001 or something. And there was an article that came out on CNN Online or something like that, right? And everyone was complaining about it because it said, you know, computers generated all the orcs in Lord of the Rings, right? And it was the same argument you just used. And I was very upset about it, and everyone was upset about it. And all I did is I went to that article, and I went to the bottom of the article. I saw who wrote it. I clicked on it. It sent me to an email. I sent an email explaining that position. The journalist, CNN, wrote me back within like 10 minutes, said, oh, wow, you're absolutely right. That's not correct. Changed the article.
oh, great.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, to your point, if you're upset, don't just go on Facebook and saying, I'm upset. Do something.
Right. And don't be afraid to use your real name.
No.
We get a lot of aliases asking, you know, why don't you do this? And it's going to go, well, who are you?
Yeah.
We'd love to do it.
That's why I left the industry, honestly, so that I don't have to worry about that.
Well, the industry left us.
Yeah.
Because now it's all done by AI.
Well, I haven't really left the industry. I have left the visual effects production, which is fine. I think I'm more effective. Honestly speaking, things like this podcast and things like that, I think it's more effective to be able to get the word out and to get people to know things.
Well, yeah. If they tune in, it's like, as much as I would love to tell anecdotes about all the fun times I've had.
Yeah.
Yeah, making all the great films that I've made, like Cutthroat Island. And let's not leave out.
We'll make sure Cutthroat Island is included in the show notes.
Red Riding Hood, all the big hits.
Yeah, nice.
Geostorm.
Also, we have to know, because obviously it's been on the internet quite a bit, the character, Brett Spiner's character in Independence Day,
Yeah, that was me.
it's based on you, right?
Yeah.
Were you in the film? How did that happen?
I'd done Stargate, and Roland and Dean and I became really close.
Right.
And then I was in Thailand on Cutthroat Island, and Roland, I think it was Roland, called me up and said, yeah, we've written a new script. We need a budget. I'm going to find a way to get it to you. And I said, oh, my wife's coming for a visit. Give it to her. She'll bring it.
Yeah.
So I read the script, and I'm going, hey, look, it's Dr. Okun.
Mm-hmm.
And, he has long gray hair and talks in this goofy way. And,
Yep.
and I called up Roland, and I go, hey, well, what's this? And he goes, yeah, that's you. And he goes, we want you to play you. and I said, great, I love to do it. So I did them their budget, and I figured out methodology and
Right.
flew back to meet with Fox to explain it to them. And they were satisfied with it. And then we got into Dean and I got into a money issue,
Sure.
and it precluded me from being involved.
Okay.
And so they hired Brent, and then Brent's a friend of mine.
Okay.
They called me from the set and said, we're shooting you right now, but we've changed his first name so you can't sue us. And I said, I'm not going to sue you. But yeah, it was fun. It was I was quite honored,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
and Brent claims that it had nothing to do with me, that he came up with all that on his own. And I keep saying to Brent, I said, don't you owe me dinner? And he goes, nope.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, listen, I think thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for telling us, stories about this, because I think it's important that people know where this comes from. I do feel that we're going to a new journey together.
Yes.
I feel optimistic about it because I have to. But
well, look, there's the positive side of things is there's going to be a ton more work out there,
yes,
and it just won't be coming through the studios. It's going to come from the independents, it's going to come from the single friends and stuff, and things are going to hit, and careers are going to be made. And so I'm actually very optimistic about the future.
I feel the same way.
It's just not going to be business as usual if you consider 2010 to be the as usual comparison.
Yeah, I think movies with 2,000 credits in them will not be the norm. But there will be way more movies with fewer credits.
Yeah, but what was that movie? It came out a couple of years ago about the robot kid with the hole in his head.
Oh yeah. The Creator.
The Creator. See, that's a movie where they pre-planned it. They did all their testing in advance. They figured it all out, and then they went and shot it.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks great, and it didn't cost what people think it should have cost.
That is correct,
And I
and
think
that's
there'll
because
be more of that.
that's because he comes from visual effects and he
Yes.
understands it, right? So you should see. So there was an article that just came out today as the recording of this podcast, but it came out today from Carolyn about this process called VidVis that we're doing. I'm part of what I'm doing here is, besides obviously working for Chaos and doing all kinds of innovation, is I actually have a company called Monstrous Moonshine, which actually this podcast is now part of. But we are producing a film, right? And we are doing this new kind of previs we call VidVis, where we actually go into that room over there with the blue screen and we pre-plan every shot we're going to do with a blue screen. And we use the backgrounds that we will be using in virtual production on the blue screen to try them out. And I don't care if the key doesn't look good. I just trying to get the composition right. The editor can look at it, see how long the shots are to see if that works. The DP can sit there and start planning lighting and experiment with different framing. All of this under no pressure of it being for the real film.
Right.
And then you plan it out. And then when we go to the virtual production set, we'll use the same assets that we were using in the virtual production here. We'll use it in virtual production, but we've already planned the whole thing, so it'll be much easier.
That sounds too logical to work.
Well, the inspiration actually came from an analogy that Richard Crudo, our DP, was telling us about. And his was that, like, back in the 70s, they would plan shoots like a heist because they didn't have a choice. They had to make sure everything was going to work. They didn't have the money for the film. They didn't have anything else. So every day was planned like a heist. This is exactly what we're going to do. And what happened when everything started going digital or started using blue screens it's like they figured it all out later. So they shot everything like a smash and grab instead of a heist.
Yeah.
And it just became, and so I was like, so that was the inspiration for me and for Daniel, our director, is like, let's plan a heist instead.
No, that's brilliant. It's like, when asked sometimes, they go, visual effects is just another word for I don't have to make my mind up now.
Yeah, no, let's make it up now.
Wouldn't it be great to go in knowing what you want? Because as you know, no matter how well planned it is, things change.
Things always change.
And you're so prepared for it in that case, and to take advantage of things you couldn't think up. It's just, I miss those kinds of shoots. Those are so fun.
Yeah, for sure. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jeff. I really appreciate you being on. You'll definitely come back. If I'd love to have you back.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
We're doing a lot of panels more recently. So now that you've been on and we've had your backstory, it'd be great to have you back on the panel. And
well, you know me, I love to offend people.
Didn't offend me. It was great. It was great having you on. And it's like I said, it's been on my wish list for a long, long time. So
well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. Handshake.
Thank you.
Instead of a kiss, but
All
okay.
Right. Thank you.